All right, welcome back to Countdown to Chris Bledsoe's predictions for 2026, a big event supposed to happen in April. And now, no, wait, it's October. We'll see. But let's talk today about what those predictions are. I'm going to share with you why the Vatican has given him so much attention. The CIA and NASA, not that we really care, but I'll tell you a few things that occurred, starting with the burning tree in his backyard, the golden lady that visits him, what she said, and I'm going to share with you a few interesting tidbits about what is to come. So, you ready for part two of Chris Bledsoe's predictions for the new era? Let's go. Welcome to Landria Onkka on YouTube, here to help you break through the fears and live an absolutely amazing life. If you break through fear and you were afraid of nothing, you could live a pretty good life. And that's what we're going to go into. An era that Chris Bledsoe, an experiencer with aliens who picked him up in a craft, tells him that is coming. And it's coming right now. How do we know? Well, one of the predictions that was given to him through the Golden Lady, and we'll go into that here shortly, was that when missiles are fired by Israel and Iran, this is when we're going to go through a big trial and tribulation period and a new era. It is still your choice. Two pathways, just like the Hopi predict. Two pathways, one of peace and one of total destruction. It's a choice. So we're going to talk about Chris Bledsoe. In 2007, he was taken on a craft, missing time. His son saw, well, non-human entities. Hasn't really talked a lot about that. Rightly so. It has really destroyed their lives until 2012. Chris Bledsoe said, enough. I'm not going to share this information. You're on your own. It's ruined my life. Absolutely lost his job. He was sick. And so the Golden Lady appeared to him and basically said, if he continues to share the information, make it known that, yes, we're not alone and that there are wonderful things to come and also other things that we must avoid, that she will be there for him. She's appeared to him supposedly every year at Easter. I don't know if it has been every year since 2012. So, yeah, 14 years she's been coming and sharing information with him. He's just now recently started to share what that total information is, because some of it's very unpleasant. But we're not afraid right now because we see it happening and coming, because the message behind all of it is you can change it. Edgar Cayce, Dolores Cannon talked about the two earths, the two worlds. Yes, it's not a physical one. Well, it will be a physical one in some respects, but it starts with your spiritual realization of what you are and what you can create. And so if you're in fear, you will live in that 3D world, the material world where happiness relies on things and power. And there are many that will not give that up. I think we know who some of those people are. But that's not for us to judge. Our whole goal, our mission here is to work on this. Go into that space, my friend, and you will see amazing things happen. So let's talk about what Chris Bledsoe predicts for 2026. Now, I looked up 10 different sources, actual interviews and publications of his exact words. So just so you know, this is not speculation. His predictions for 2026 center on a prophecy given to him by the divine feminine entity known as the Lady, which he provided in writing to NASA and Pentagon officials as early as 2012. Why? I don't know. Why do we have to report to them? I think that's silliness. So just remember, no matter who you're listening to, it's still a human. And we still have an energy field and an ego somewhere in there that reacts to our own patterns and thoughts and manipulations. I believe Chris is being manipulated. And he doesn't realize it because he's so important. And he talks about that now that, he got to go in a room in NASA that nobody goes into, and he's in the Vatican, and you can see this great pride. And I think he's a wonderful man. But watch that, because I think they're preying off of this excitement he gets of being so important and most of all believed. right? He struggled and suffered so long. So we have to be very careful, especially with these dates, because these dates were not given by the lady. They were given by NASA officials and some other officials, and Chris spewed that out. She never gave a date. I just want to make sure you know that. So the core of the prophecy involves a celestial alignment where the star Regulus, which the lady specifically described as a red star, despite its astronomical blue appearance, sits on the horizon in the gaze of the Great Sphinx of Giza just before dawn. So astronomers reportedly ran this description through computer models and verified that this specific alignment will occur at Easter of 2026, and it didn't. So it was run through by other specialists, and they said, nope, the red star Regulus actually appears in August of 2026, and it's not one event. It's going to be there till March of 2027. So we got a little span here. So careful, Chris. Don't be naming dates, because she didn't say it. She just said what the event was. Yeah, because I'm sure that there are people that would like to take him down and say, ha, see? So what are the key details of his predictions for this period? A shift into new knowledge. I don't doubt that for a minute. He emphasized that 2026 does not mark an apocalypse or Armageddon, but a fundamental shift in the new knowledge that will change human understanding. It's an awakening of hearts and minds of people moving away from a material paradigm toward one that recognizes consciousness and the divine. He speculated that this alignment could represent the return of Christ. He said that, she didn't. Or the arrival of the lady and the whole heavenly host to live among humanity. He states that when the suffering of man becomes too great, these forces will intervene to snuff out the darkness. I just want you to know he's a religious guy. Sometimes he talks more religion, and it's a real turnoff for me, because that's really, pushing us into one thing. And I don't think anybody has the answers. Government disclosure. The government's reportedly aware of the 2026 timeframe and is accelerating UFO disclosure to avoid catastrophic disclosure. I don't think they're evil. If they were, we wouldn't be here. A loss of public confidence if these beings land or announce themselves before the government reveals the truth. Hey, McFly, they've been landing for years, and we're not paying attention. Two timelines. The lady reportedly showed Bledsoe two possible futures for humanity: oblivion through the war machine, and another leading to a path of peace. Conflict in the Middle East. A precursor vision involved Iran and Israel exchanging missiles. That has occurred. That's how we know it's happening now. She told Bledsoe that when this occurs, orbs will appear globally to wake people up and de-escalate the conflict toward peace. Archaeological revelations. There is speculation that the new knowledge may be physically linked to discoveries beneath the Giza Plateau, such as the Hall of Records, which Edgar Cayce predicted, or previously hidden structures recently identified by radar scans. They're finding other stuff underneath that is just mind-blowing. I'm really excited about that. Restoration of balance. The transition to the age of Aquarius is predicted. Edgar Cayce spoke of this. To bring back the divine feminine, creating a necessary balance to a world that has been dominated by masculine and archonic power structures for 2,000 years. So let's talk about the religious and scientific figures studying Bledsoe. All right? Chris's experiences have attracted extensive studies from a diverse range of high-ranking officials with CIA, NASA, and the Vatican. What do you think about that? I'm not Catholic, but I'm not exactly trusting all that either. And major research university, he is often cited as one of the most studied UFO experiencers in history. Alan Hynek, the leader of Project Blue Book, spent 59 years at NASA. He visited the Bledsoes to debunk the case, but ended up becoming a father figure to the family after conducting his own investigation, which included door-to-door interviews with other local witnesses who confirmed the phenomena. He's seeing stuff showing up over his house. Tim Taylor, NASA. Bledsoe calls him an enigma with extremely high security clearances. He briefed President Barack Obama on the events at the Bledsoe Ranch. Bledsoe provided his 2026 celestial prophecy in writing to Taylor, who delivered it to NASA and Pentagon officials for computer modeling. Chris, why are you sharing all this information with them? It's never going to be good. The former director of operations for CIA wrote the foreword to his book, Chris Bledsoe's UFO of God. I have it. He's been a primary supporter and researcher of the case, openly discussing the quantum illusion of materialistic reality in relation to the phenomenon. It's more of a scientific experiment. John Alexander, retired Army colonel, intelligence officer, wrote the introduction to Bledsoe's book. Also, he introduced Bledsoe to remote viewing in 2015. There's another remote viewer out there, self-taught, by the way, who claims to be just visiting Putin and everybody else. Geez, I wish I had those kind of abilities. Oh, that's right, I do. So do you. The Dragon, an unnamed figure who reportedly runs launches for NASA and the National Reconnaissance Office, NRO, visited Bledsoe to investigate a burning tree incident on his property. A burning tree on his property, and it wouldn't go out. Just started. Researchers, Dr. Diana Walsh-Pasulka, she's very cool. Very, very cool. Go look her up. She's been on Jesse Michaels, a professor of religious studies. She investigated Bledsoe's case as part of a larger MUFON study and on angelic beings. And she featured Bledsoe prominently in her book, American Cosmic. Yeah, she takes a really, neutral stance on things, and she's convinced this is the real thing. Dr. Gary Nolan, he's one of my favorites, a Stanford University immunologist. Nolan analyzed Bledsoe's medical records and confirmed that his long-term Crohn's disease had disappeared with no remaining clinical markers. And Nolan has stated that the phenomenon likely involves a non-material form of consciousness. Gary Nolan's coming out and saying, we are more than this. There's a consciousness that we don't understand that is us, not separate from it, that is us, that makes you sick, that heals you. You're doing it, right? We're actually doing it. And some of it is meant to teach us things. Sometimes we choose it so we can learn things. I know, like who would want that? Dr. Robert Grant, he's a researcher of Egyptian monuments, and he used advanced imaging to show Bledsoe discoveries in the Great Pyramid, such as a celestial bull with stars that mirrored Bledsoe's own visions. He spoke of this. If you've been watching Bledsoe at all, there was a bull ran over him, obviously not a real one, during one of his visions with the lady in white. He didn't know what it meant. Yeah, it's in the pyramids. Dr. Anna Brady Estevez, a program director at the National Science Foundation, is a close friend of the family, has personally witnessed the orb phenomena at Bledsoe's home. It's tough to blow this off. Bledsoe claims that the Vatican, let's talk about the Vatican now, has conducted its own investigation into his case due to the similarities between his encounters and historic Marian apparitions like the miracle of Fatima. Vatican researchers in 2017, given access to the Vatican archives, sent Bledsoe photos of angels coming out of orbs painted on Vatican walls, confirming they recognized the entities as angelic. Recognition in archives. Bledsoe claims the Vatican held a ceremony in his honor and placed his picture in the archives between the books of Galileo and Copernicus. Watch it, Chris. They're going for it. They're going for your ego. I'm seeing your face light up. I mean, who wouldn't be excited about that? Don't get off track, right? They're guiding you down some roads that I don't like right now, and that's naming dates. She never named a date. The papal message, he reportedly received a message through his contacts stating that the Pope acknowledged the beings as angels, but warned Bledsoe not to let them get too close, as their energy could cause physical damage to the body. I believe that's possible. If they're that powerful, right? We're still human beings. How did the CIA and NASA respond to the burning tree? Let's talk about that burning tree. It was an incident that occurred in October of 2013 on Chris Bledsoe's property. Despite 2 days of rain, a tree erupted into flames and burned from the inside out, with fire shooting 13 to 14 feet into the air. This event serves as a major catalyst for high-level government interest in Bledsoe's experiences. The Dragon, high-ranking official from NRO, who reportedly runs launches for NASA and used the code name the Dragon, visited Bledsoe. That's a sort of cool name, I have to admit, specifically to inspect the tree. Cape Canaveral meetings. Following the officials' visits, Bledsoe was invited to Cape Canaveral, where he sat with approximately half a dozen officials from NASA and the NRO. Why? Yeah, it's feeling real important right now. Expanded research. He's feeling validated, right? He's validated. But by who? The initial contact expanded into a long-term relationship where multiple NASA figures began studying Bledsoe, leading to investigations into medical markers and stem cell research related to his reported healings. How's this happening? They want to know. Because they're not thinking consciousness. They're not thinking Christ consciousness. They always have to make it scientific. They have to have a date. They have to have science and reasons. And now people like Federico Fagin says it's beyond a scientific experiment. Validation, Jim Semivan, retired director of operations, CIA, and John Alexander, intelligence official, became primary researchers of Bledsoe's case and wrote the foreword to his book, Recruitment for Healing Capabilities. Shortly after the tree incident and a subsequent miraculous healing of Bledsoe's dog, which was crazy, which was filmed by a journalist, he was flown to Washington, D.C. to interact with a terminally ill child, which he supposedly cured. The interest surrounding the tree and subsequent events led the government to take Bledsoe's 2026 prophecy seriously, eventually assigning remote viewers to investigate the timeline he provided. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. Humans can't be accurate with that. And even the top remote viewers said this, that you can never see the future or really know everything because you're coming from your own thoughts and fears and beliefs. That means you're seeing a reality. Yes, you're seeing a real reality, but it's one of endless realities. Okay? So these abilities exist, but then you got to remember who's telling this. So I don't know why bother with remote viewing. So a scientist from Wake Forest University conducted a formal investigation of the tree. During this study, she used a spirit box. Ooh, I didn't know this. An audio device meant to capture non-human communication, which reportedly produced 350 audio clips of voices calling Bledsoe by name and warning that the Pope was in danger. What? Bledsoe provided these recordings to his intelligence contacts, which led to a meeting with John Alexander and a subsequent investigation by the Secret Service. I didn't know that they were picking up voices. Wow. The Pope's in danger? Well, that didn't happen. Well, at least not yet. Not yet, right? So, what did the Vatican investigate regarding this case? Well, according to Bledsoe, the Vatican's investigation into the case centered on the striking similarities between his modern-day encounters and historical religious phenomena, specifically the Marian apparitions and angelic visitations. In 2017, a researcher who spoke with the Vatican obtained permission to access the Vatican archives to study Bledsoe's experiences along historical records. What did they focus on? Artistic evidence. Researchers sent those pictures, the old paintings of angels coming out of orbs, mirroring the luminous objects Bledsoe's filmed. You know, it looks like faces and people and orbs. St. Francis of Assisi, investigators compared Bledsoe's physical conditions, specifically his rheumatoid arthritis, to the death of St. Francis of Assisi. They claimed St. Francis had an orb get too close to him, which zapped him and caused him to die 2 years later from what modern medicine would identify it as the same autoimmune disease. Ooh, did you know rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disease? He's got it. Interesting. Levitating saints. NASA officials reportedly accompanied the Vatican researchers to study accounts of levitating saints in the archives, seeking to understand the physical mechanisms behind such reports. Levitation. I don't know. I've never seen it. So, recognition of angelic beings. Bledsoe claims he received a message through his Vatican-linked contacts stating that the Pope acknowledged the entities he sees as angels, but not to get too close. It could cause physical damage. Well, they say that happens if you go on alien craft radiation poisoning. Remember, we have a few stories of that. A picture of Bledsoe was placed at the entrance of the Vatican archives. A ceremony in his honor. Now, I am making fun a little bit because I think now we're going into something completely different. Real saints, even some popes, have refused to live in opulence. Not that there's anything wrong with that. They just don't want it to get to them. So what's the connection between aliens and Bledsoe's powers to heal and see otherworldly things? So his connection to beings during a period of extreme personal trauma and declining health due to Crohn's disease, that 2007 abduction, well, visitation, he had 4 hours of missing time, and he was on a UFO and he saw luminous orbs, and he was miraculously healed of that chronic disease, Crohn's, but now he has the arthritis. He believes this encounter, combined with prior near-death experiences, he was actually shot in the back with a hunting accident and almost died, removed a block or blinders, allowing him to see into a real world that is typically unseen by others. This event marked the beginning of his ongoing ability to interact with orbs and the lady. So you and I can do this too. The thing is that we have these barriers and these beliefs and all this stuff, wired in the brain. And so we react a certain way, and then, the old beliefs and fears and all this stuff shows up. If you were to move past that, you could actually access everything he does. So he made an agreement with this lady in 2012. Supposedly, she said that if he shared his story, she would always be with him and allow him to share the entity's presence with others. Because nobody could see this stuff but him, right? And his family. And all of a sudden, he's showing people this. And so people are believing him, giving him credibility. I don't blame him, man. That was a tough place to be. Healing through intention, he does not use rituals, but relies on a simple prayer or a telepathic knowing. He claims the phenomena are connected to human thoughts and respond to the heart. You can do this too. Nellie, his dog, he healed. The child in DC, he healed. Reviving the unconscious during a bar mitzvah attended by high-ranking officials, he reportedly revived an elderly man who had collapsed and turned ghost white by placing a hand on his shoulder. Prayer for others, he claims that by holding up photos of the sick to the heavens and asking for help from God, dozens of people have reported their cancers disappearing or their pets recovering from organ failure. Do you think he's doing it? Do you think they are? I'm just asking you. I think it's a combination of both. So there is a connection between the physical and, of course, the non-physical. And Bledsoe's children, Ryan and Emily, suggest the connection's more than just spiritual. It may be biological, and that they note that research on repeat experiencers indicates that interaction with the phenomenon may force the brain to mechanically evolve. So the orbs, he believes, are connected to our thoughts. They're all interacting in the wireless internet of universal consciousness. He believes his purpose is to help humanity transition toward a new knowledge where the spirit world and physical world become one. So Chris, thank you. Chris Bledsoe, thank you for putting yourself out there. Don't get too caught up in your government friends and all their hoity-toity stuff. Just stick to what you know, and if they push you, man, just, say, no, she didn't say that. She didn't give a date. So we're going to track this between now and, of course, October or whenever that happens. What's going to happen? Well, if nothing happens, then, of course, you're going to get a lot of people criticizing Chris. And I think he needs to just stay neutral and say, that's what she told me, and I don't know when it's going to happen. Stay tuned. So I'll let you know if he comes out and starts to talk again. He went real quiet. Supposedly he went to Paris for some kind of, or France for some kind of big thing that was going to happen. He couldn't tell us, but he was with all of his government officials, and we haven't heard a thing. Supposedly some event, some appearance was supposed to happen, but we haven't heard anything. So let's not get all excited about that. I think we need to just focus on us. Yeah, what are we doing? Because we affect that. That is us. It's not separate from us. He doesn't hold any power that you don't have. So stay tuned, because we're going to talk more about this unconsciousness and one consciousness, and things like AI that we have been warned about by our non-human friends, saying There's a problem with that. We'll talk more about it. Who's in charge of it? We are. It's not some separate entity. We're doing it. All right. Again, please subscribe. Please share my videos and stop watching the garbage, okay? You're filling your little brains with that. That's not good. No, negative kind of stuff or elevating somebody to another level. There's nobody higher than you or lower. So please subscribe. And also my book, if you haven't read it yet, it may be the last spiritual book you ever have to read. It's pretty simple. You can obtain that information right now if you want, because you're whole and perfect, strong and powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. And by the way, anything in my description is non-toxic, non-plastic, doesn't harm animals. Go down there and support those companies. I have discounts for you, everything from how you clean your house to, water filters and everything. We have to support those who are making conscious choices in a material world. I'll see you there. Namaste.